Fallen heroes are back. An interesting banner theme, the Darkness Within banner, features fallen versions of Corrin, young Tiki, newcomer Mareeta, and Big Bad Berkut. Despite the unique theme, these units are all being added to the permanent summoning pool after the banner is over. This is not a limited time banner. In this video, we'll cover the stats for these new heroes and any new weapons or skills they bring with them. I'll also cover some build options while discussing the general playstyle each unit has. Let's get started. First off, we have Fallen Female Corrin. She's struggling to control her dragon powers, and I believe this is based around the early events of Fates. This Corrin is a colorless infantry dragon, the first one in the game. Her stats include 43 HP, 35 attack, 37 speed, 31 defense, and 27 resistance. A pretty good spread all across the board, and this Corrin has a ton of base stats. Her attack and speed are great. With her decent HP, defense, and res, Corrin can fight off any type of threat. She's similar to Velntia, who is a colorless beast infantry unit. For old skills, Corrin comes with Dragon Fang, and she'll actually be a decent user of it this time. Her A skill is Attack and Speed Solo, which is extremely good offensive A skill. As long as Corrin isn't adjacent to any allies, she gets plus 6 attack and speed. This skill was only on Legendary Erica beforehand, making it incredibly rare, but now it's in the permanent pool, which is awesome. For her unique weapon, Fallen Corrin has Savage Breath. It's a 16 Dragonstone that grants a flat +3 attack. With the equipped, Corrin jumps up to a solid 54 attack, and that's not all just yet. Savage Breath grants bonus stats to Corrin during combat based on the number of allies within 2 spaces of her. If there are no allies within 2 spaces, Corrin gets a massive +6 doll stats. 1 ally gets her +4 doll stats, 2 allies gets her +2, and 3 or more nearby allies grants a big fat 0. Essentially, Savage Breath is a more extreme version of a solo skill, checking for allies within 2 spaces, not just adjacent ones. Despite the description, these stats are added during combat. This is a strong ability, but on tight maps it will be definitely awkward to use. Corrin has to basically be on her own to receive the full stat boost, which may or may not be easy to achieve. However, with just Savage Breath and Attack and Speed Solo, Corrin can achieve up to 66 attack, 49 speed, 37 defense, and 33 resistance. That's without any other field buffs. Corrin introduces a new B skill called Sudden Panic. At the start of the turn, if any foe's HP is less than the user's HP and that foe is adjacent to another foe, inflict the panic status on that foe. This effect should sound familiar. It is basically half of a versus knight. Everyone was excited to slap this skill on HP monsters like Arden, but lo and behold, Sudden Panic is actually restricted to only infantry and flying units. Essentially, the skill will be good anywhere Aversa is good, and Aether Rage is a great place to find units clumped together. The only issue with Sudden Panic is that it's a B skill and has lots of strong competition, whereas things like Panic Ploy is both a C skill and a Sacred Seal. It could be a good skill on support units, but the user needs to have high HP to effectively use it. In contrast, a support buffer can just use Chill Attack, and that can always contribute something to the team. In terms of builds, Fallen Corrin is a bit odd. As a colorless unit with pretty balanced stats all around, she can afford to run just about anything you want. Sticking with Savage Breath does come with its own strict playstyle, however, and you really want Corrin to be off on her own whenever possible. For soloing parts of a map, I do think Aether plus Attack Smoke is a great combo. With her good speed and potential for +12 extra speed, Flashing Blade is a great seal option. Heck, even Heavy Blade could work too. With these skills, an attacking Corrin can proc Draconic Aura in one round or fully charge up Aether for heal up later. Regarding Sudden Panic, it can work fine since there's a lot of low HP units like Squishy Mages, but honestly, I don't think Fallen Corrin is that great of a user of the skill. There's just so many other good B skills like Desperation or Wrath she can also use. Overall, Fallen Corrin isn't that complicated as a unit. She's basically a huge ball of stats, which is nice since her colorless status means she's fighting on neutral terms with just about every enemy type. I think she can be good, but separating from the team can be quite dangerous, and to use her to max potential, you have to be wary of positioning. If you run into Fallen Corrin, be aware of the potential bonus stats she's getting, because it can get quite ugly. Definitely not bad for our first colorless infantry dragon. Our second unit is actually another colorless dragon. Fallen Young Tiki is an armored colorless dragon, joining Duma in that regard. She's got 45 HP, 36 attack, 34 speed, 37 defense, and 20 resistance. Somewhat similar to Corrin, Tiki's got a lot of stats spread pretty evenly. Decently fast for an army unit, and she's got the bulk to take some hits. For old skills, Tiki is rocking Ignis, which makes sense considering her good 37 basic defense. It also goes very well with Special Fighter, which gives Tiki increased special charge while denying the enemy from charging their own specials. As we've seen before, Special Fighter is best on fast army units or ones who can get their own follow-up attacks. To help get more doubles, Tiki comes with Brazen Attack and Speed, which grants a massive +7 attack and speed boost when below 80% HP. We've got 2 great attack and speed boosting skills on this banner. Now, Fallen Young Tiki has a unique weapon called Raising Breath. It's effective against dragons and grants distant counter, allowing her to attack ranged enemies. With the usual adaptive damage effect against ranged units, this is a great perk for any dragon. This is a pretty good weapon, but it's not really new because it's essentially the exact same weapon as Legendary Young Tiki's Divine Mist. Two good effects, nothing new we haven't seen before. What is new is Tiki's unique C skill called Solitary Dream. At the start of the turn, if Tiki is adjacent to only dragon allies or if she is by herself, grants +4 to all stats and she gets to move 1 extra space. This is actually a pretty good C skill. For 1, it buffs up Tiki's already very impressive stat line, and 2, grants her Armor March. To make it easy to activate Solitary Dream, Tiki wants to have more dragon allies, and even if she doesn't have Armor March on the team, she brings her own to the party. This means Tiki can keep up with infantry dragons and is technically more mobile since she can move through forest tiles freely. Unlike Legendary Tiki's unique buffing skill, which grants the buff to allies, Solitary Dream is more selfish, only benefiting young Tiki. In terms of playstyles, Fallen Tiki brings a little bit of everything to the table. She's got distant counter, dragon effectiveness, Special Fighter gets her faster specials while denying enemy specials, and Solitary Dream brings self buffs and mobility. I think keeping Raising Breath, Special Fighter, and Solitary Dream makes for a solid build already. Now we just need to work on Tiki's speed. Brazen Tag and Speed is nice, but it doesn't do anything for Tiki at 4 HP. If you want some instant speed, we've got Attack and Speed Bond, which can be nice for defensive baiting, or Swift Sparrow and Darting Blow for player phase aggression. Since Special Fighter works on both phases, you got lots of choices, and you can keep Brazen Tag and Speed while choosing one of these for your Sacred Seal slot. Quick Riposte can be another option, and with Fallen Tiki having distant counter, she's fine sitting back and playing a more defensive style. She's a very versatile unit, and you can even go for a full-on defense build with things like Fortress Defense and Res plus 8/3. There's not a ton I would change for Fallen Tiki. Her base kit is perfectly fine, but there is room for some tweaking here and there. Our third unit is our one new character. Mareeta is from Thracia 776, and she's here to challenge the ever-populated sword infantry pool. Mareeta has 42 HP, 33 attack, 41 speed, 29 defense, and 23 resistance. Pretty respectable stats. Her 41 base speed is the clear standout. Just looking at base stats, she has the highest speed stat in the game, and I believe she has a speed super boon, meaning she can reach 45 speed through sheer stats alone. Where 33 attack, she'll be dishing out good damage too, and she can also take some hits thanks to her solid defensive stats. For ult skills, Mareeta has Luna as her special, which is perfectly fine. Her B skill has no follow-up, which allows her to disable skills that prevent follow-ups, as well as disable skills that guarantee enemy follow-ups. With her high base speed, she's a good user of the skill. Mareeta's unique weapon is the Shadow Sword. It's a 60 might sword with accelerated special trigger, which will come in handy. Its second effect is that if Mareeta is above 50% HP and she initiates combat, she can make follow-up attacks before the enemy gets to counterattack. This is the same effect as Lewin's Forseti Tome, and it's extremely powerful. To be clear, it doesn't give Mareeta a follow-up attack, it just allows her to use one before the enemy counters, if she has it. This effect is sort of a reverse desperation where you need high HP to use it, but that's fine since you don't need any kind of setup. When Mareeta's good base speed, if she gets a double, she will attack the enemy twice before they get to do anything. Shadow Sword is already a strong weapon, but it's extremely good for Mareeta because she also comes with Flashing Blade 4. If the unit speed is greater than the foe speed, grant special cooldown charge +1, and deal 5 damage per unit's attack. This is the exact same as Flashing Blade 3, but now you get some extra free true damage on top of things. This is actually quite strong because generally Flashing Blade units are getting follow-up attacks by outspeeding their opponents. That means they will get 2 attacks, which in turn effectively doubles that 5 true damage to 10. This can be real nasty if you give Flashing Blade 4 to fast units who have true damage weapons. This includes units like Carla, Leif, and even Legendary Alm. Think of it like this: Carla and Leif can get a maximum of +7 true damage from their weapons, and that's per attack. Add Flashing Blade 4 and now it's 12 true damage per attack. If they double, that becomes 24 true damage. Flashing Blade tends to be used more often as a Sacred Seal, but this tier 4 version is definitely viable as a skill since we now have Darting Blow as a Sacred Seal. Definitely be on the lookout for this skill. We've discussed how others make use of Flashing Blade 4, but how does it work for Mareeta? Turns out with the Shadow Sword, she can pull off a nasty combo right from full HP. Assuming she is fast enough to get a follow-up attack, Shadow Sword lets her hit 2 times in a row. Flashing Blade 4 is activating, so those 2 hits add 5 true damage each, and the first swing charges up Luna because remember, Shadow Sword also accelerates special triggers. On the second swing, Mareeta will activate Luna, and if she stays healthy, she can pull this combo off over and over. No follow-up is interesting here because it basically disables any funky follow-up skills enemies may have. That means Mareeta is free to abuse her high speed, and if you can't match her in the speed battle, she gets to pull off her own combo. Despite how quick she naturally is, I do think you want to give her at least one speed increasing skill. Darting Blow as a seal is great since Shadow Sword is a player phase weapon anyway. If you want more damage, even Attack Wave can be nice, and according to the data mine, the new Fallen Delthea has this skill if you really want it. Besides her base kit, I do think Mareeta has quite a lot of skill options. Tagger speed increasing skills will be good, but I'd be hard pressed to give up Flashing Blade 4. No follow up is nice, but it isn't a necessity, and there's a lot of good B skills to try out, like Chill Speed or Desperation for 100% consecutive attack uptime. Wrath can be fun, but Mareeta does want to be on high HP to activate Shadow Sword. Special Spiral is also another choice, and Lewin already shows off how fun that can be with his Forseti Tome. While Luna is great with the Shadow Sword and Flashing Blade combo, I do want to mention GALEFORCE. Shadow Sword puts it on a 4-turn cooldown, and 2 Flashing Blade hits will charge it up. This means Mareeta can use the same combo we discussed, and she'll activate GALEFORCE ready to move again. She does need to rely on speed and Flashing Blade to pull this off, so Mareeta doesn't have as much room to run more damage skills like other GALEFORCE users like Tabarn. However, she has a very easy way to activate it, and she can do so without even taking damage possibly. It's a neat thing to keep in mind. Overall, Mareeta is still solid, but will be competing against all the other fast sword infantry units too. Shadow Sword offers a lot of potential, and with Flashing Blade 4 already in her kit, Mareeta is ready to roll out of the box. I think she'll be able to hang with the other top tier sword masters. Last but not least, we have Fallen Berkut, MVP of this banner for sure. He comes with some amazing art, spectacular voice lines, and one of the coolest chibi sprites in the game. I love the head tilt and sporadic laughing to signify he's truly lost it, and while he activates his special, Renea pops up, which is a neat little addition. Berkut is still a Lance Cavalier, but he's back with some massive improvements. He has 40 HP, 35 attack, 17 speed, 35 defense, and 30 resistance. He's completely dumped his speed stat for a crazy 35 defense and 30 res, making him somewhat of a blue Harid. Similar to regular Berkut, this version would definitely be best used as an enemy phase tank. For old skills, Fallen Berkut has Reprisal, which is still pretty garbage, especially for a tank who doesn't want to be losing HP in the first place. His C skill is Odd Res Wave, which is much more useful, buffing up his res stat with +6 extra res every odd number turn. Find an even res wave teammate for constant res increasing buffs. Berkut's traded out his old lance for Creamhild, a demonic looking lance that is pretty darn cool. Creamhild has multiple parts to its effect, so let's break it down. If a bow, dagger, tome, or staff foe initiates combat, and Berkut is within 2 spaces of an ally, then Berkut gets distant counter, the foe cannot make a follow-up attack, and if Berkut does attack, after combat the nearest ally takes 20 damage. So basically Creamhild only works against ranged enemies. Berkut also has to be near an ally, but then he gets distant counter and stops follow-up attacks, which is very good for a tank. However, this comes at a cost where Berkut ends up damaging an ally, and keep in mind this can hit multiple allies if they are the same number of spaces away from Berkut. This is a very cool weapon, and it's super appropriate for him because he gets stronger at the cost of his allies. That being said, you can actually use the 20 collateral damage to your advantage. For example, this can get Desperation users safely into HP range, or you can purposely damage a unit with Escape Route, which lets them teleport around the whole map. A Martyr healer actually wouldn't mind taking the hit and can heal Berkut back up to full HP too. Despite how troublesome the 20 damage can be for some units, there are numerous ways to benefit from it as well. Fallen Berkut is actually pretty darn good already, but he really goes over the top with Warding Stance 4. If a foe initiates combat, grants +8 res during combat, and inflicts special cooldown charge -1 on the enemy per attack. Because warding is very important in this game, I do want to point out that there seems to be a mistake in this definition. It says the guard effect works on foe per foe's attack, which implies it only works when they attack and not when Berkut hits back. However, you can test it in game, and the guard effect applies for all attacks, just like Steady Stance 4. Being the res version of Steady Stance 4, you already probably know this is going to be a very good skill. This pumps up Fallen Berkut to a real nice 38 res, and with Odd Res Wave active too, that can reach 44 res total. The guard effect is very strong and is very effective alongside the ability to stop ranged unit follow-up attacks. +8 resistance helps Berkut fend off both mages and dragons, which have become very prevalent, and it fits his stat line perfectly. Overall, this is a perfect skill for Berkut and will be a great skill on many other tanks as well. Fallen Berkut is pretty much ready as is. He can tackle ranged threats and completely mess up their assaults. He has good base defense and can buff his res up quite nicely, so all Berkut really needs in his build is quick riposte. This gives him kill potential, and with 17 speed, he pretty much has to commit to the enemy phase playstyle by default. For maximum range tanking, distant defense is just icing on this magnificent cake, and I do think there's a case for close defense too. He cannot stop melee unit follow-up attacks, so he could use the extra defenses there. If you want Berkut to all in on magical tanking, use Warding Stance as a skill. For specials, Iceberg is nice, but because Berkut is stopping follow-up attacks, he actually won't proc it on his second attack. He can save Iceberg to one-shot someone on the player phase, or if you really want to ensure Berkut KOs those ranged units, go with Moonbow, maybe Glimmer. Overall, Fallen Berkut is actually very cool and is probably the best magical damage tank / ranged enemy tank for Lance Cavaliers. He's going to be pretty useless on the player phase, but that's okay because, like we mentioned, if you pair him up with the right teammates, he can enable strong player phase units thanks to his 20 collateral damage. Desperation Sweepers can forgo Fury, you can use Brazen Scales for more damage, or you can weaken them enough for Wings of Mercy Dancers to fly in next to them. It will require some creative team crafting, but Fallen Berkut can enable some cool new strategies. A very interesting unit, and I look forward to seeing how people start to use him in their teams. That wraps up this banner breakdown. Let me know if you plan on summoning for anybody or if you have a build idea you want to share. First summon tickets are available from Forging Bonds as well, so be sure to nab those. For those of you who are not summoning, you can look forward to our next Grand Hero Battle unit, which is Fallen Delthea. She'll be available in a couple days and I'm excited to talk about her. From the data mined info, she looks like a really solid reward unit. Anyway, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.